The needle pierced my chest before I even saw it coming. I hit the ground hard, vision blurring at the edges. Around me, the alien marketplace erupted into chaos, vendors scattering, civilians screaming in their clicking, harmonic language. My hand moved to the wound automatically, finding the projectile still embedded between my ribs. Smooth. Metallic. Leaking something that burned like acid through my veins. "Human down!" someone shouted in broken English. "Medic! Medic now!" I tried to breathe. Couldn't. My lungs felt like they were filling with glass. Through the haze of pain, I saw her, the nurse, her 4 arms moving with practiced efficiency as she rushed toward me. Her species, the Valir, had skin like polished copper and eyes that could see in spectrums I couldn't name. Right now, those eyes were wide with something I recognized across any species boundary: terror. "Don't move him," she commanded the guards surrounding me. Her primary hands pressed against my chest, while her secondary pair pulled scanning equipment from her medical pack. The device hummed, casting blue light across my torn uniform. "By the ancients! Quantum-tipped assassination dart. Class 7 neurotoxin. Can you save him?" The guard's voice was tight, professional, but I heard the underlying dread. The nurse's mandibles clicked, their equivalent of a bitter laugh. "Save him? No one survives this wound. The toxin is already past his heart. Even if I could extract it, the cellular damage." She trailed off, secondary hands moving in a gesture I'd learned meant hopeless situation. Minutes. He is minutes. The world tilted. I wanted to tell her I wasn't ready, that I had a daughter back on Earth who still sent me messages every week, that I'd promised to come home. But my throat wouldn't work. The burning spread through my shoulder, down my arm, up into my skull. "Move aside." The voice cut through everything, the pain, the noise, the dying. The crowd parted like water. I couldn't turn my head, but I didn't need to. The presence was unmistakable. Queen Thesha IV, Supreme Sovereign of the Valir Collective, the being whose diplomatic summit I'd been assigned to protect. The being who, according to every security briefing, never left her protected quarters. Never engaged directly with incidents. Never, under any circumstances, approached danger. She knelt beside me. Her coronet caught the market's bioluminescent light, casting prismatic shadows across my face. Unlike her subjects, her skin held an iridescent quality that shifted between copper and gold. Her eyes, all 6 of them, focused on my wound with an intensity that made me forget the pain for a heartbeat. "Your Majesty, please," the nurse began, her voice cracking with distress. "It's not safe. The assassin could still—" I said, "Move aside, Healer Vinna." It wasn't a shout. Didn't need to be. The nurse stepped back immediately. The Queen's primary hands hovered over the dart. Her secondary pair pressed against my forehead, cool and steady. Her tertiary hands moved in patterns I couldn't follow, and suddenly the air around us felt different. Charged. Like standing in the moment before lightning strikes. "You're Marcus Webb," she said. Not a question. "Security attaché from Earth. Father of 1. Age 34. Allergic to Rillian shellfish, though you've never told anyone because you didn't want to seem difficult." Her mandibles moved in what might have been a smile. "I read all the files of those assigned to protect me. Thoroughly." I tried to speak. Managed only a wet, gasping sound. "Don't." Her touch gentled. "I know what's happening to you. The toxin is shutting down your neural pathways, while simultaneously liquefying your internal organs. You can feel it, can't you? The fire in your blood. The way your thoughts are starting to scatter." She paused. "Healer Vinna is correct. No one survives this wound. Not Valir, not Cross, not any species in the collective." So this was it. Death in an alien marketplace, light years from home, poisoned by a weapon I'd never seen coming. I thought of Emma's last message. "Be safe, Dad. Come home with boring stories." "Sorry, sweetheart. But you're not from the collective, are you, Marcus?" The Queen's voice dropped to something almost conversational, though her hands never stopped moving. "You're human. And humans are the most infuriating, impossible, stubborn species I've ever encountered." Her tertiary hands completed their pattern. "They survive things they shouldn't. Heal from wounds that would kill anything else. Adapt to environments that should destroy them." She looked directly into my eyes. "So here's what's going to happen. You're going to fight. And I'm going to watch. And if Healer Venna is right, if no one truly survives this wound, then we'll both learn something about limits today." Her hands pressed down. Energy poured into me like electricity, like ice, like nothing I'd ever felt. The pain didn't stop. It multiplied. I screamed, or tried to, but no sound came out. My back arched. Someone was shouting. Multiple someones. "Your Majesty, you'll kill him faster," I said. "Watch." Through the agony, I felt something shift. The burning in my veins changed direction. My heart, which had been stuttering toward silence, suddenly hammered against my ribs like it was trying to escape. The Queen's face swam above me, all 6 eyes blazing with an emotion I couldn't name. "That's it," she whispered. "Don't you dare quit on me, human." The darkness at the edges of my vision began to recede. Slowly, agonizingly, I sucked in a breath that felt like swallowing broken glass, but it was a breath. My fingers twitched. The world snapped back into focus with brutal clarity. I was still dying, but I was also, impossibly, starting to fight back. The Queen smiled, a real smile this time, showing the rows of crystalline teeth that could tear through titanium. "There you are. Now let's see if your species' reputation is earned, or just propaganda." Around us, the marketplace had gone absolutely silent. Even the assassin, wherever they were hiding, seemed to be holding their breath. The entire Valir collective was about to learn whether humans were as resilient as the stories claimed, or whether their queen was about to watch me die despite everything. My body chose that moment to convulse. The toxin surged, and the real battle began. The Queen's tertiary hands moved faster now, weaving patterns in the air that left traces of golden light. Each gesture sent another wave of that strange energy through my body, meeting the toxin head-on. I could feel the war happening inside me, poison versus whatever the hell she was doing. My cells were the battlefield. I was the battlefield. "The dart," I managed to gasp. "Still in, I know." Her voice was steady, clinical. "Removing it now would cause you to bleed out in seconds. The toxin has corroded your tissue. The projectile itself is the only thing keeping your lung from collapsing completely." She glanced at Healer Venna. "Prepare a cellular regeneration matrix. Military grade. And give me a stasis field generator." "Your Majesty, we don't have military equipment in the civilian sector." "Then contact the garrison. Tell them their queen requires it immediately." She never looked away from me. "Tell them a human is dying to save my life." See how fast they move. Through the pain, I caught the implication. The dart hadn't been random. It had been meant for her. I'd just been in the wrong place. Or the right place, depending on perspective. "Why?" My voice was barely audible. "Why save me?" Her primary hand pressed harder against my chest. I felt ribs crack, then, impossibly, begin to knit back together. "Because 3 days ago, you threw yourself in front of a security probe that malfunctioned near my quarters. Do you remember?" Everyone else scattered. "You moved toward danger." Her mandibles clicked softly. "Because yesterday, You gave half your meal ration to a Valir child who was crying in the corridor. You didn't know I was watching. A pause. Because when your daughter sends you messages, you smile. And humans who smile like that don't deserve to die on foreign soil for foreign rulers. The stasis field arrived, carried by 4 guards, who looked like they'd broken every speed record to get there. Healer Vena activated it immediately, and suddenly the world slowed. Not stopped, slowed. My heartbeat became a distant, rhythmic thunder. The toxins advanced through my veins became visible, like oil spreading through water. Now, the Queen said, we work. Her 6 eyes began to glow. Not metaphorically, actually glow, with a light that seemed to come from somewhere beyond the visible spectrum. The energy pouring into me intensified until I felt like I was burning from the inside out, but it was different from the toxins' burn. This was heat that forged instead of destroyed. Healer Vena, monitor his neural patterns. If they start to cascade, tell me immediately. Your Majesty, what you're attempting, this level of biological manipulation, it's forbidden for a reason. The energy required could, I am aware of the risks. The Queen's voice held an edge now. I am also aware that in 47 seconds, the toxin will reach his brain stem. After that, nothing I do will matter. So unless you have a better solution, help me or get out of my way. Then as 4 arms moved into position, her medical scanner trained on my skull. Neural activity holding. But barely. The Queen's primary hands began to pull. Slowly. Carefully. I felt the dart moving inside me, felt tissue tearing and immediately regenerating. The pain transcended anything I'd experienced. Colors I couldn't name flashed behind my eyes. I tasted copper, then honey, then nothing at all. Stay with me, Marcus. Her voice was the only anchor I had. Your daughter is waiting. Your world is waiting. You have a life to return to. Emma. God, Emma. I focused on her face, on her laugh, on the way she said, Dad, with 2 syllables when she wanted something. The image kept me tethered when everything else tried to slip away. The dart came free. Blood poured from the wound, thick and wrong-colored. The toxin had changed it, corrupted it. But the Queen's hands were already there, golden light flooding into the hole in my chest. I felt flesh knitting, cells dividing at impossible speeds, my body rebuilding itself from catastrophic damage. Toxin purge. The Queen commanded, Now! Then I produced a device I'd never seen, pressed it against my neck. It felt like every poison in my body was being ripped out through my pores. I convulsed, screamed, felt consciousness slipping. Then, suddenly, the burning stopped. Not faded. Stopped. I sucked in a breath. A real breath. My lungs expanded fully for the first time since the dart hit. The stasis field disengaged, and the world returned to normal speed. I was lying in a pool of my own blood, the marketplace still silent around us, the Queen still kneeling beside me. Pulse stabilizing, Vena reported, her voice filled with disbelief. Neural patterns normalizing. Cellular regeneration complete. She looked at her scanner like it had betrayed her. Your Majesty, he's healing. The Queen sat back, her tertiary hand still glowing faintly. Of course he is. He's human. She looked exhausted, her iridescent skin dimmed to pale copper. The most annoyingly resilient species in known space. I tried to sit up. Managed about 3 inches before gentle but firm hands pushed me back down. Rest, the Queen ordered. You just survived the unsurvivable. Don't waste it by being stupid. The assassin, I croaked. Captured. She gestured with a secondary hand. I turned my head carefully and saw a cross male being restrained by guards, his chitinous face expressionless. My security detail isn't entirely incompetent. They secured the threat while I was busy keeping you alive. You shouldn't have risked yourself. That's not your decision to make." Her tone was sharp, but her primary hand rested gently on my shoulder. "I am queen. I choose my risks." She paused. "And I choose to repay those who show loyalty, even when they don't have to." The crowd began to murmur. Word was spreading. The human survived. The queen saved him. The impossible just happened. I could hear the disbelief, the awe, the confusion. A small figure pushed through the crowd. A Valir child, no more than 4 feet tall, her skin bright copper with youth. She clutched something in her primary hands, a sweet pastry from one of the marketplace vendors. The same kind I'd given her yesterday when she'd been crying. She approached slowly, mandibles clicking nervously. The guards tensed, but the queen raised a hand, stopping them. The child knelt beside me and placed the pastry in my palm. "Thank you," she said in halting English. "For being kind. For being brave." She looked up at the queen. "For being alive." Her words were simple, but they broke something open in the gathered crowd. Suddenly, the silence transformed into something else. Not cheering, Valir didn't cheer, but a harmonic hum that rose from dozens, then hundreds of throats. A sound of approval, of respect. The queen's mandibles curved into a smile. "It seems you've earned more than just my gratitude, Marcus Webb." She stood, addressing the crowd. "This human took a weapon meant for me. He survived a toxin that should have killed him in minutes. He has shown us what loyalty looks like across species boundaries." Her voice carried across the marketplace. "From this day forward, Marcus Webb is under my personal protection. Any threat to him is a threat to the Valir throne." The humming intensified. I wanted to protest that I was just doing my job, that I didn't deserve this, but the queen's tertiary hand touched my forehead gently. "Rest now," she said softly, "just for me. You've done enough for one day." More than enough. Darkness claimed me again, but this time it was the darkness of healing, not dying. I sank into it gratefully, the queen's words following me down. "No one survives this wound." But I had. When I woke, I was in the Royal Medical Wing, surrounded by technology one didn't understand. Healer Venna sat nearby, monitoring displays that showed my vital signs in alien languages. She noticed me stirring and approached immediately. "Welcome back," she said, her 4 arms moving in a gesture of relief. "You've been unconscious for 16 hours. I tried to speak. My throat was dry raw. She provided water, or something like it. I drank carefully. The queen? Safe. Resting. She expended more energy saving you than I've ever seen anyone use for healing." Venna's mandibles clicked thoughtfully. What she did, it shouldn't have been possible. The biological manipulation required, the precision, the raw power. She's exhausted herself for weeks, perhaps months. "Guilt hit me." I didn't ask. "No, you didn't." She chose. Venna's eyes studied me. I've been the royal healer for 20 cycles. I've never seen her act that way. Never seen her risk herself so completely for anyone, not even her own advisors. A pause. "Why you?" I had no answer that made sense. But as I lay there, piecing together fragments of memory, I remembered her words. Because humans who smile like that don't deserve to die on foreign soil for foreign rulers. Maybe it was that simple. Maybe she'd seen something in me that reminded her why kindness mattered. Or maybe she'd just been tired of watching good people die for her throne. "She wants to see you when you're strong enough," Venna continued. "But not before. You need another day of recovery at minimum." "What about the assassin?" Her expression darkened. "Being interrogated. The attack was organized by a faction that opposes her diplomatic openness. They thought killing you would send a message about the dangers of allowing humans into our highest circles. Her mandibles curved bitterly. Instead, they've created a legend. The human who survived the unsurvivable. The man the queen herself brought back from death. I closed my eyes. Legend. That's exactly what I didn't want. But sometimes you don't get to choose how your story gets told. The next day, I was strong enough to walk. Then I escorted me to the queen's private chambers, a place few outsiders ever saw. The walls were living crystal that pulsed with soft light. Artwork from a dozen worlds hung in careful arrangement. And in the center, seated on a platform that couldn't quite be called a throne, was Queen HFY. She looked different in private. Smaller somehow, though her physical size hadn't changed. The weight of sovereignty showed in the way she held her shoulders, the careful control of her tertiary hands. When she saw me, something in her posture relaxed. Marcus. Sit, please. You shouldn't be standing yet. I sat in the chair her secondary hands indicated. For a moment, neither of us spoke. Thank you, I finally said. For my life. You're welcome. Her tone was formal, but her eyes were warm. Though I believe the thanks should be mutual. You took a dart meant for me. That's my job. Perhaps. But there's a difference between duty and sacrifice. You could have moved aside. Most would have. She leaned forward slightly. Why didn't you? I thought about it. About Emma, about the promises I'd made to come home, about all the reasons I should have chosen self-preservation. Because, I said slowly, some things matter more than survival. You're trying to bring peace to a dozen species. You're building something that could last centuries. That's worth protecting. Even at the cost of your own life? Isn't that what you did for me? Her mandibles curved, a veneer laugh. Touché. She gestured with her tertiary hands, and a small holographic display appeared between us. I've been reviewing the interrogation reports. The conspiracy runs deeper than we thought. There are at least 7 other cells planning attacks, all targeting the diplomatic summit next week. Her eyes met mine. I'm canceling it. No. She blinked, all 6 eyes showing surprise. Excuse me? You can't cancel it. I leaned forward, ignoring the protest from my healing ribs. That's exactly what they want. They're trying to prove that openness leads to danger, that isolationism is safer. If you cancel, they win. If I don't cancel, more people could die. Then increase security. Change the venue. Adapt. But don't give up. I held her gaze. You told me humans are resilient. Well, so are you. So is your vision. Don't let fear win. Silence stretched between us. Then, slowly, her tertiary hands began to move in a pattern I had learned meant deep consideration. You realize, she said quietly, that if we proceed, you'll be in even more danger. You're now a symbol. Killing you would demoralize the entire pro-integration movement. I know. And you still want to continue? I thought of Emma, of the messages I had sent her explaining why I couldn't come home yet. Thought of the child who'd given me a pastry. Thought of all the species trying to build something better than endless isolation and fear. I do. The queen was silent for a long moment. Then she stood, her full height imposing even in the soft crystal light. Very well. The summit proceeds. With modifications. Her primary hands gestured, and the hologram shifted, showing security arrangements. Triple guards. Quantum scanners at every entrance. No projectile weapons allowed within a quarter-mile radius. She looked at me. And you'll be assigned to my personal detail. Not as regular security, as my liaison to the human delegation. Your Majesty, I'm not qualified for diplomatic. You're qualified for what I need. Someone who understands that some risks are worth taking. Someone who knows the difference between recklessness and courage. Her tertiary hands touched my shoulder gently. Someone who survived the unsurvivable because they refused to give up. I wanted to argue, but the look in her eyes told me the decision was made. There's one more thing, she said. The faction that organized the attack, they're not done. They know now that direct assassination won't work. They'll try something else. Something bigger. Her voice dropped. I need to know I can trust the people around me absolutely. Can I trust you, Marcus? The question wasn't really a question. It was an offer. An invitation into her inner circle, into the dangerous, crucial work of building peace. I stood, my body still aching but functional. You have my word. She studied me for a long moment, then extended her primary hand in the human gesture she'd clearly learned for this moment. I shook it, feeling the cool strength of her grip. Then we have a week to prepare, she said. I suggest you use it to heal, and to send a message to your daughter. Tell her you're safe. Tell her you're coming home. Just not yet. I nodded. As I turned to leave, her voice stopped me. Marcus? One more thing. I looked back. When Healer Venice said no one survives that wound, she was right. According to every record we have, every study, every precedent, you should have died. Her eyes held mine. The fact that you didn't tells me something important about your species. About human potential. She paused. Don't waste it. I left her chambers with those words echoing in my mind. Don't waste it. The week passed in a blur of preparation. Security drills, protocol briefings, endless meetings with delegations from a dozen worlds. My wound healed faster than Vina expected, faster than should have been possible. Apparently, whatever the Queen had done to save me had jump-started my body's natural healing. I was recovering at triple the normal human rate. Fascinating, Vina muttered every time she examined me. Your cellular regeneration is off the charts. It's like your body learned something from the toxin. Adapted to it. She looked up from her scanner. You're stronger now than before you were injured. I didn't know what to do with that information, so I focused on the work. Emma's response to my message came 3 days before the summit. Her face filled my personal display, equal parts relief and frustration. Dad, you can't just send me a message saying got hurt, almost died, all better now, and expect me to be okay with that. She ran a hand through her hair, my gesture inherited. But I know why you're doing this. I know it matters. A pause. Just come home when you can. With boring stories. Please. I promised I would. Hoped I wasn't lying. The summit began on schedule. Delegates from the Valir Collective, the Cross Assembly, the Rillian Federation, and, for human worlds gathered in a converted cathedral that soared 300 feet toward the sky. Security was everywhere, visible and hidden. Quantum scanners hummed at every entrance. Guard patrols moved in overlapping patterns that had taken a week to perfect. The Queen gave the opening address, her voice carrying across the massive space without amplification. She spoke of bridges and understanding, of the strength found in diversity, of the future they could build together. Halfway through her speech, the lights went out. Emergency protocols activated immediately. Guards moved to defensive positions. Civilians were ushered toward exits. But in the darkness, I felt it, the subtle vibration of machinery that shouldn't be there. The faint smell of ozone that preceded energy weapons charging. Bomb! I shouted. Clear the building! Chaos erupted. But it was controlled chaos, the kind that comes from good training. Delegates evacuated in orderly fashion. Guards swept the cathedral systematically. And in the center of it all, the Queen stood perfectly still, her 6 eyes scanning the darkness. Marcus, she said quietly. Upper gallery. Northeast corner. I looked. Saw nothing. Then movement. A flash of something that wasn't quite invisible but wasn't quite there. Refraction camouflage. Military grade. I see it. Can you reach it? The gallery was 40 feet up. No stairs nearby. But there was ornamental metalwork that might hold my weight if I was very lucky and very fast. Yes. Then go. I'll coordinate evacuation. I ran, grabbed the metalwork and started climbing, muscles screaming in protest. My healing wound tore slightly, leaked blood. Didn't matter. Couldn't matter. I reached the gallery in 20 seconds, a climb that should have taken a minute. The refraction shimmer was clearer up here. Not a bomb. Worse. A quantum destabilizer, a weapon that didn't explode. It unraveled matter at the molecular level. Used here, it would collapse the entire cathedral. Kill everyone still inside. The device's timer showed 30 seconds. I didn't have training for this. Didn't have tools. But I had the stubbornness of a species that survived ice ages and plagues and our own worst impulses. I grabbed the device, felt it burn my hands where the quantum field leaked, and did the only thing I could think of. I jumped 40 feet to the cathedral floor, device clutched against my chest. I hit the ground hard, rolled, and kept running toward the exit. The queen saw me coming, understood immediately. Everyone out! Her voice boomed with absolute authority. Now! The last guard scrambled clear. I burst through the doorway and hurled the device as far as I could, out into the empty plaza beyond. It sailed 30 yards, hit the ground, and the world folded in on itself. Reality bent around the device like paper crumpling. The quantum destabilizer activated, creating a sphere of unmaking 10 feet across. Stone, air, light, everything within that radius simply ceased to exist. Not destroyed. Erased. Then it was over. A perfect spherical hole remained in the plaza, its edges smooth as glass. I fell to my knees, hands ruined, wound reopened, every part of me shaking. The queen was there immediately, her primary hands on my shoulders. You're an idiot, she said. I know. You could have died. I know. You saved 400 lives. I didn't have an answer for that. Just knelt there bleeding, while her tertiary hands began to glow again, pouring healing energy into my injuries for the second time in a week. Around us, delegates emerged from where they'd taken cover. Saw the hole in the plaza. Saw me. Saw the queen healing me again. The implications rippled through the crowd like a wave. The human did it again. Survived the unsurvivable. Saved them all. Healer Venna arrived with a full medical team. They stabilized me, while the queen coordinated with security to sweep for other threats. None were found. The quantum destabilizer had been their final play, their guarantee that even if direct assassination failed, the summit would end in disaster. It hadn't. Later, much later, when my hands were bandaged and my wound resealed and I was sitting in a recovery room for the second time in 8 days, the queen came to see me again. I'm pulling you from active duty, she said without preamble. I started to protest, but she held up a primary hand. Not as punishment. As necessity. Marcus, you've become too visible. Too symbolic. Every faction in the collective now knows your face, your name, your story. Her mandibles moved in what might have been a sad smile. You can't be a bodyguard anymore. You're too much of a target yourself. Then what? Then you go home. She sat beside me. You return to Earth. You see your daughter. You live the life you almost died protecting. A pause. And when the time is right, when the diplomatic corps is established and we need a human voice in the highest levels of collective government, I'll call for you. If you're willing. I looked at her, this alien queen who'd saved my life twice now. Why me? Because you understand what matters. Because you've proven you can survive anything. Because your species needs representatives who know the cost of peace, not just the theory. Her 6 eyes met mine. And because I owe you a debt I can't repay. The least I can do is let you live to enjoy it. I thought about Emma. About Earth. About all the normal, boring days I dreamed of during the poisoning. I accept. Her mandibles curved. Good. Your transport leaves tomorrow. I've arranged for full medical escort and enough security to invade a small moon. She stood. One last thing. She removed something from her tertiary hand, a small crystal that pulsed with soft light. This is a royal token. It marks you as under my personal protection, recognized across all collective space. Keep it with you. And if you ever need help, break it. I'll come. I took the crystal carefully. It was warm, alive with energy. Your Majesty, Thesha. When we're alone, call me Thesha. Thesha, then. Thank you. For everything. She touched my forehead gently with her primary hand, a gesture of deep respect in her culture. No, Marcus. Thank you. You reminded me why we fight for this future. Why some risks are worth taking. She turned to leave, then paused. Oh, and Marcus? When you tell your daughter your stories? Yes? They're not boring at all. 6 months later, I stood in my apartment on Earth, Emma's arms wrapped around me in a hug that had lasted 5 minutes and showed no signs of stopping. Through the window, I could see the familiar skyline, the normal traffic, the ordinary world I'd almost never seen again. My hands had healed completely. The wound in my chest was now just a scar, thin and pale. According to the doctors, I was in better physical condition than before the poisoning. My body had adapted, overcome, grown stronger. Dad? Emma's voice was muffled against my shoulder. Yeah. Your stories aren't boring at all. I laughed. The crystal the Queen had given me sat on my desk, pulsing softly, waiting. Someday, maybe soon, I'd return to the collective. There was work still to do, bridges still to build, peace still to fight for. But for now, I was home. Alive. Surrounded by everything I had survived to protect. And somewhere, light years away, an alien queen smiled, knowing that the human who shouldn't have survived had made it home after all.